to give you some tips that will help you to tell great stories to your family and friends, and for you to also have fun. Storytelling is a great skill for you to have. This will be able to help you, and it will give you the ability to share information with your friends and your adults. It also will help you to improve your language arts skills, and it would instill in you a love for reading. And so the more you tell stories, the better you will get. But there are two essentials you need to be a good storyteller. You need to use your imagination, and you need listeners. And so some people say, well, I don't have any listeners. Guess what? Then you can use the mirror. The mirror, you can put the mirror before you and go before the mirror and tell your story. So one thing you need to have imagination, two, to have listeners. The first thing to do is get an excellent book, a book that you enjoy, that you have a lot of fun. This book may have several stories, but just find one story that you like. Pick one. And that story you will be able to tell your friends and your family. But make sure your story have a beginning and an end. Also, you want to make sure it's funny. And the other thing we can do, you can build your story. You can start off for once upon a time, and then you can go on. The other way you can learn to tell a story is to bring in other people. You start the story off by telling it to say, today I'm going to the store. I'm going to CVS, and I'm going to buy several color crayons. And then the second person come in and say, I went to look at the crayons, but the crayons were not so great. And then the third person may come in. But the key thing here is to first get a book that you love. Read the story, and you have to practice. You have to practice. You have to practice. You just don't practice once. You practice every time. Call your friends and your family. So go before the mirror and tell that story. Introduce yourself. My name is Auntie Oye, and this is my story. Remember, your story has to have a beginning, a middle, and the end. And bring in your friends and family. Tell them to sit down and you tell them that story. Tell them that story that is fun. Tell them that story that will make everybody happy. So remember, you need two essentials. You need to use your imagination, and you need to have listeners. If you don't have listeners, bring your mirror and practice. Practice walking and telling the story. If you need more, text me or call me. The end. Yay! So now I'm going to tell you a quick story. And this story was about, in fact, the story takes place in Uganda. This is a Uganda folk story. There was a locksmith. This man works with a lot of metal, iron. He could build anything out of irons. He built locks. He built everything. But the king of that village was wicked. He was evil. And if you didn't do what he said, he would kill you. So this guy's name was Walukala. Walukala was beautiful. He was happy, always cheerful. The king sent for him. Walukala went. He said, Walukala, I want you to make me a man of iron. I want him to be able to run. I want him to be able to talk. I want him to be able to share with people. I want you to make him out of iron. I'll bring all the iron you want, but I need you to make this man. He says, okay, your majesty, I will. And he left. And he was worried. Walukala kept saying, my God, what am I going to find this? What can I do? And he was so worried. So as he walking, his head is bending down. And there was a mentally challenged man who he saw every day. This man was a beggar, and Walukala would give him money from time to time. So he saw him and says, my friend, why are you looking so sad? He said, oh, I just left from the king. And the king is asking me to do a job that is impossible, to make a man of iron that can run, that can dance, that can think, that can move. That's impossible. So the man said to him, don't worry, my friend. I've got something for you. He says, what? He says, well, go to the king. He says, oh, yes, I'll go back. He says, go back to him. Because did he say he would give you anything you want? He said, oh, yes, he would give me all the tools, all the materials I needed to make this man of iron. He said, okay, go back to him. Tell him you need 100 baskets of human hair. And you wanted 10 gourds of tears. He said, and if he gave you this, tell him you'll be able to make this man of steel. Says, okay. The next day, he went back to the palace. And he says, Your Majesty, didn't you say that any materials I needed, I could come and ask and you give them to me? He says, yes. What do you need? He says, well, can you give me 100 baskets filled with human hair? Because we need to make a special fire coal. We need to make coals from this hair, from this human hair. And we needed 10 gourds of tears, of human tears. So we need to take this tears and put it on the coal to make it. So it has to be special. And that's what I need. He says, okay. So 2-3 weeks pass. And he's waiting. The king went, sent all his people. He had a decree, tell every woman, man, and child in the village to cut their hair, shave off the hair from all the arms, the feet, everything, and put it in baskets. And tell all of the people to cry in the gourds, because I need 100 baskets filled with human hair, and I need 10 gourds filled with human tears. So he told everybody shaved, everybody. But it was far from the numbers they wanted. It was impossible. And the king, when he went to look, he didn't even have 10 baskets of human hair. So he called Walukala. He came back. He says, my friend, I'm so sorry. I know I told you I'll give you all the materials you needed. But guess what? I couldn't do it. It was impossible. So don't worry about making the man of steel anymore, because I don't have the materials for you to do it. So that's okay. You don't have to do it again. He says, oh, Your Majesty, I am so sorry. But as soon as you get all of these things, call me and I'll be able to do that. And he was so happy when he left his service. He was so happy. He was so happy. So he saw some of his friends and he said, you know, the problem I had was solved, because guess what? It was impossible. So here is the moral. Anytime you get in trouble or anytime you're confused about something, talk to everybody. Everyone has a suggestion or an opinion or a solution that can help you. Talk to people. Because if you don't, you wouldn't know what you're missing. Because he talked to everybody, although he talked to a mentally challenged man, but this person had something to tell him. If this guy had not given him that idea for him to take back to the king, he'd probably be dead. So listen to everybody and share the information. Share whatever is worrying you. The end.